All right, this is If My People Bible Reading, Part 70. We left you in Part 69 in the book of Leviticus, and we're somewhere around chapter 7 and 8. We want you to read through this um, as we go through it chapter by chapter, verse and verse, and just showing you. Just look at what you're reading, and please don't try to put down what you thought you learned and what you were told from so many anywhere that institutionalized pastors, any place, any of the hundreds of thousands of books in the bookstores and Amazon that you can get written by people who were brought up in those churches, and simply they're parrots. They simply repeat what they were told. It's like today you watch something and it becomes extremely copied. Like for instance, in the last 9 months, and you pay attention to things like I do. I'm very funny about that. You hear the word. People start with for the last 4 or 5 years they started with and so. Now they got rid of the word and they use so. Now it's like they start sentences with so, and then pretty soon you're listening to television and everybody's starting. So many people are starting their sentences with the word so. That's what plagiarism is all about. So we're just asking you, read the word and you're going to see it just come alive on this. And this is for minority people. This is not being sold out there and pitched for sheep. If I wanted to sell it to sheep, I'd sell them a bunch of manure that they would love to eat. And that's what so many people do who sell books and run businesses and run churches like a business. They sell things that they know the customer wants. I don't sell things that I know the customer wants. I'm giving you what I've been given in the last 40, 50 years. I'm so grateful for it. I made so many mistakes and so many corrections and so many repentances that, and you write these things down so you don't do them again. So here we are in chapter 7 and 8. And in chapter 7, verse 14, it just says, just read this to you. And he is to bring each one a kind of offering. Now this is the book of Levi, Leviticus, a contribution to Yahweh. It belongs to the priest who sprinkles the blood of the fellowship offerings. The meat of his fellowship offering of thanksgiving must be eaten on the day it is offered. He must leave none till the morning. Sound familiar? Passover. So they are representing this is like through the guilt offering that we ended with last time. Now we're going to take you back to the pictorial thing. I want to put this in your head as we go through the Torah. It's very important that you understand what it's saying. And some people are just not good at this reading stuff and reading a lot of material. And so we just can't ignore it. We read it to you, we give it to you, but let's do a picture on this. Now we left you last time with an explanation, and we will continue on to explain how this occurs and how we know where today that the mountain of El Jabaj, the mountain of laws, the mountain of almonds, is in Saudi Arabia. And it's certainly well protected. Yahweh knew this was going to happen. He's pretty smart. And he did it this way because Saudi Arabia, the family of Kenites, and the family not from Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, but from his brothers. The other 12 tribes have been taking care of this and keeping people. Now, what's interesting is this little Nubibi down here, where they crossed over, that could hold about 2.5 million people, or at least 500,000. The others were pushed back, and they all went across at one time. There used to be a pillar here, a large pillar, a vertical pillar, and then another one on this side. And then after World War II, it disappeared. And meaning, where is it? It's probably somewhere in Arabia. It doesn't really matter. It's the same people looking for those pillars are the same ones looking for the Ark of the Covenant and the spear that killed Yeshua and all these other things. You don't need all that. The Father doesn't want you worshiping idols or things. So from there we go to here. It's maybe a little hard to read. I got it in black. I don't know why I did that. Should put it in white. But these are the locations that, as you go through the reading of Exodus and Numbers, you will see where they camped. Now, the book of Exodus talks about these rituals going through and following specific instruction given in the Torah commands through Moses. These are the locations, and it ends up around 40. Typical 40 time of testing. Well, there you go. They were certainly tested. And these were all the locations where they camped, one after the other. In other words, they started at Ramses, and then they had their first Sukkot. And the Sukkot would be, a Sukkot is not a tabernacle more than it is a building that has no roof on it. So in those days, it basically meant, hey, just look up. You go in here and you keep yourself in groups in the fall. You gather. These are appointed times, and you camp there. You camp outside if you can, or you do it outside your house, and you give yourself a little bit of. It's hard to camp out and sleep out at night when you're so used to air conditioning and plump beds and so forth. These people went through that, and then they went through all these different campsites until they simply didn't exist anymore. They mostly they died, and those under 20 and those born during that time, and two made it through. Joshua is one of them. So, we want you to understand and put that in your head. They went through a bunch of campsites, and they followed it in order and did certain things at certain places, and they were reminded, hey, at the end of you people in the last 29 campsites, the last 39 campsites, you haven't been circumcising your children. You haven't done this outwardly. I am still demanding all this outwardly stuff. Now, we'll say it once again, that we're in a new covenant. When we get there, we'll explain this. So if you understand this, you'll understand what a circumcision of the heart is. To be 8 days old, to be a young boy and get a circumcision is painful. I can imagine. I worked at a hospital for years, and I heard the screaming, and the mother and the father and everybody about passing out if they demanded. Some people these days demand that they're in there to watch all this take place. You don't have to have a circumcision of that to be in Yeshua. But it's an outward sign. It's still an outward sign. And it's good. It's a good health thing to do. And you're supposed to wait 8 days. Hospitals don't want to wait 8 days. The 8th day is the clotting factor of vitamin K. The doctors will do it as soon as the child's born. They'll just take that little thing he's got there and, pull it a little bit, put a clippy on it, and blood. There's going to be blood. And they'll stop it from bleeding, and they do, and they're successful with it, and that's, I think, what happened to me. I don't know, I was told. But today, in the new covenant, we have a circumcision of the heart. That's why males and females go through this circumcision, okay? So as we finish through chapters 8, 9, and 10, this is all about following rituals that when we get to the new covenant and a newer and better covenant, now here's where the Orthodox Jews go crazy on me, and here's where the rabbis and all those seers and people in Kabbalah and ritual stuff like this. When you see stuff like that, when you see a priest doing that, minister, Orthodox Jew or a Christian doing this when they're praying, run. And we're just saying, this is me. Run. From experience, run. Almost any organization in the world that has an animal name to it, that has another society with secrets. We're not a secret society. We're just a society that has secrets. When they have priests and they have temples and they name them right in front of you, and you go to major cities like St. Louis and you see these huge temples in the name of these animal named organizations that pay for it and support them, even though the people, all these lodges think they're doing a great thing, running these bars and selling liquor and everything else and gambling and all kinds of other raffles to help out Bob down the street who's in trouble and so forth. They think they're doing godly things and they're tithing. No. Run. Do they know what they're doing? Do sheep know how to type? Do sheep know how to drive cars? Will a sheep ever drive a car? No. Well, you can't expect too much from sheep, can you? But once again, we're loving people who hear and obey. So Yeshua has sheep, and he loves his sheep, and he tells you, he commands you in the new Torah, the new and better covenant, to love the sheep, feed his sheep. He told that Peter twice, didn't he? Peter, feed the sheep, Peter. And so should we. But is it easy? No. And should you be making them into shepherds? No. If they come to you and they want to, if they want to watch this from beginning of the Word to the very end of Revelation 22, wonderful. I would say this. 1,000 people, I'm just popping a number out of my head, 1,000 people are going to see this. And 1,000 people are going to start this. Like I told them, start at part 1, go to the end of it. We'll go through the whole Bible for you. And then say, this guy's an idiot, or this guy's got it going, or this guy has been praying to Yahweh daily for discernment, and that so that he can help others. It's one or the other. Either I'm a blooming idiot full of it, going through life believing in a Bible, and believing in Yahweh in the Bible, and his Son, and the Holy Ghost that flies around in the form of a Ruach HaKadosh, and or I'm a nut. Please advise me. I occasionally leave my email in there, and people email me, and people have got thumb drives with this already, and people have got the Bibles that they've wanted, and they got a hold of me. I spend a lot of money on all this because a lot of the people that wanted it never offered to pay for it, so I ended up giving it to them. and you know how many out of dozens that said thank you? One said thank you. Does that remind you of a parable of Yeshua healing people with leprosy, and how many came back to say thank you? Things haven't changed much, have they? But you know what? I love every one of them, even the ones that didn't come back. It's better that they come back than they didn't, because Yahweh takes care of people like me, and he takes care of people like you. He does, and you got to believe that. Just sit back and watch. The more you get involved, the more it's going to get messed up, so just stay out of that stuff. We're in chapter 11. We're still going through living in the land, taking care of what you got, being responsible for it, how to do this, how to do that, how animals, it's animal husbandry here. That's what's going on all through these chapters. Read them. It's good that you should do that. 13, 14, same thing. And then we get up to chapter, do I have time? I got 1 minute and I'll get started. We're at chapter 14, verse 57. To determine when something is clean or unclean, these are the regulations for infectious skin diseases and mildew. Now, I think I'll wait for my comment for part 71 on that. But we do have a book that was also written out, which I'll gladly give to you. If you're hearing this and you email me, I'll give it to you. Give it to you. And it's not a diet book. It is a book called Live It. Do you get it? Live It. And it easily goes and it details what is good to eat, why we eat what is good, and why we don't eat what's bad, even if we cook it and put salt and sugar in it. We call it bacon. No matter what you do, don't eat that stuff, okay? get back to you in 71. Bless you.